What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another preview / prediction video. And today we are here with week 3 of the NFL. And for the first time this season, we're on the road. So let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to a video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're back with another preview / prediction video. Man, as you can see, I'm fired up for this video. Now, I've been saying for a while I've wanted to make these a little bit shorter, but it never happens. However, today, that changes. Or at least it should change. Because we're going to have 2 different preview types of videos that you will see. So tonight, depending on when you're seeing this, I don't know if it's up or not yet, but I will be recording our first preview / prediction type of video. Now, that's going to be more of your injury report, your players to watch. It will have the score prediction, but it's going to be more surface level, and we're also going to hear from the opponent and someone that creates content for that opponent. However, today's video, I'm going to skip some of those things. I'm going to skip the injury report. I'm going to skip going through just like a list of players to watch and just focus on what I expect on the field. Offense, defense, some of the scheme things that maybe I picked up on that I'm going to be looking out for tendency-wise, what I'm going to be expecting on the field, and that's what this video is going to be. So there's going to be 2 different versions of this to try to shorten this, but also just make it make sense rather than one super long, hour-long video. Offense, defense, and then my score prediction. So let's get it started. I'm going to start off first talking about this Arizona Cardinals offense that just dropped 41 points on the LA Rams. They were absolutely incredible in that game. I did not expect that score at all. That's one that I felt really safe about, was taking the LA Rams to win that game. That did not happen. I do like the Arizona Cardinals this season. I'm not just saying that. I had the Arizona Cardinals making the playoffs coming into the year, if you saw my initial season predictions video. But as you can see, statistically speaking, Arizona has been one of the most effective offenses so far in the NFL. Now, it's only 2 weeks. Rushing the football, 5.5 yards per carry. That's 5th in the league. They're 1st in yards per game rushing the football. And passing the football, they've been incredibly efficient. They're not turning the football over. And Kyler Murray looked pretty darn awesome in their last game against LA. And even against Buffalo, they put up 28 points in that game. One of them was a special teams touchdown. But Arizona has looked really good offensively. And what we are seeing is the weapons that they have on paper. Trey McBride, now Marvin Harrison, who took off last week, Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson. Now tie that together with a healthy Kyler Murray and an offensive line that maybe doesn't have the biggest names, but they're making it work. This offense is really difficult to stop, and they are very diverse. They can run the football, they can pass the football. They bring a lot to the table, and then, of course, you always have to deal with Kyler Murray just to take off, which just extends everything. You think you have a good play for them, and all of a sudden something happens off script. It's a huge play offensively that shouldn't have been there, and all of a sudden it's just a backbreaker. So this is a very good and well-rounded offense that the Lions are going to see this week. No question about it. The stats back that up, and this run game is really carrying over for last season, where James Conner was awesome towards the end when Kyler Murray came back, and James Conner has carried that into this season, where he's also been awesome so far this year. Starting there first with the run defense for a team that does average 5.5 yards per carry. That's one of the best rushing teams statistically in football through 2 weeks. Kyler Murray does play a pretty large impact in that. Now, I haven't seen a ton of design runs for Kyler Murray. I've seen a little bit. You know, you get a couple zone reads here and there, but also he does impact if he takes off and scrambles, and those numbers will shoot up. And hop out for a second there. But when we look at this rushing attack, we of course have to start with this offensive line, which to me is really led by Paris Johnson, the first-round pick at left tackle, who so much of their run scheme goes behind. Right next to him, of course, is the former Lion, Evan Brown, who's performed well there, and he's been a huge part of this offense because he's utilized in so many different ways. As a pull blocker, you get him on a lot of play action sets as well, but they'll also run a lot of their zone plays behind him. I think they love to go behind that left side of the offensive line. At center, to me, is kind of the swing piece, and that is Yelda Froholtz. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. That player, to me, can decide a lot of how this rushing attack is actually going for Arizona. If he's playing really well, they're probably running the football pretty well. If not, they may not be matching the numbers that we've seen so far. And I think for the Lions, that's an advantage they want to believe that they have on paper with DJ Reader and Ali McNeil, mainly in the interior, Kyle Pecco as well in this game. Now, again, as I touched on, with so much of their run plays being stretch and sweep plays, it is going to challenge those guys to get laterally. It is majority sweeps and stretch plays. So they're going to force everything out wide, and the Lions are going to have to be up to that. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But what that also means is that you have to look at the tight end position for Arizona. Trey McBride, Elijah Higgins, even Tip Ryman, the rookie, getting into the mix. That tight end position is crucial for their rushing attack. And you could just see the difference between good run plays and bad run plays that a lot of times come down to how well the tight end performed a down block to allow them to pin and pull and get outside. That matchup, whether it's defensive ends or it's a linebacker, even at times our cornerbacks that are going to have to set the edge in this game, especially towards the boundary. They're going to be thrown into the run action a ton in this game. That matchup matchup a lot of times can determine how well these run plays actually perform. So the matchup with tight ends, matchup with linebackers, defensive ends, if it's a defensive back, that matchup is going to be crucial in this game to see how successful they are. Now, of course, for the Lions, with all of these outside rushing attack plays, yes, the defensive ends are going to be thrown into the mix a lot. And we got to see this against LA when Arizona just ran like crazy. The down blocks that they were placing on their four techniques, like, for example, the rookie Braden Fisk, when they were down blocking with Kelvin Beachum, or even on the flip side with Paris Johnson, and they were just moving those guys off the point of attack. We saw some combo blocks. So, of course, that area would be your Levi's, potentially your Leams, your Josh Pascals, your Mekhi Wingos, who we've seen thrown into the mix a little bit as well. But I just wanted to start there first. A lot of this rushing scheme is towards the outside. Now, in general, another important part of this offense is, from what I've picked up so far, this could change as the season goes along, is that this is a team that seemingly prefers to really throw on first down rather than second down. It's the opposite. They're going to throw a lot more on first down, and on second down is where you're going to get a lot more of those run plays, depending on how the first down goes, especially if it's second and medium, second and long. Piggyback on what we talked about last week, again, keep an eye out for the Lions up front and some of their front calls to be kicks. You know, hey, defensive end, slant back inside. Let's kick our linebacker out wide. That could create opportunities for the Lions to try to create negatives, get them behind the chains, because, again, this team wants to throw on first down, so if they're throwing on first down, it's incomplete. Second down, they create a negative. You're in a great spot defensively, of course, and this has been the best third down offense in football. Why? Because they've ran the ball incredibly well. They've been pretty darn efficient on first down, but even if it's incomplete, they're having success on second down. They're making it very manageable third downs. Third and longs for the best third down team in football is a priority. So kick plays, of course, always the slot blitzing. I think we'll see that occasionally. I think we'll see a lot of five-man rushes, and Glenn will try to disguise who's coming on the play, but the kicks, which means defensive end slant in, linebacker slant out, potentially some loops, some things like that up front just to slant and crash some gaps and try to create some negatives potentially against the run. Now, I think a lot of that can also impact some of the rushing stats that we have here, because a lot of times, hey, if it's a first down, you gain 3 yards or it's an incomplete pass, you're going to run the football, maybe playing a little bit back, and you can pick up 5 yards a little bit easier than maybe on a first down. But that's just something to kind of keep in mind, is from what I was able to pick up, a lot more of the run plays tend to happen on second down rather than first down. Now, it's not just a stretch and sweep plays, but when it is, again, like I said, I think they love the athleticism of Paris Johnson. They like to go behind that piece, and also Evan Brown as well. They like his lateral movement. That being said, though, you can get beyond that, and you get into some of the outside zone usage that we've seen a little bit of, and in those spots, I think you see a lot more weak run plays, like the stretch, especially the sweep plays. You're going to get more strong side runs, of course, where they have more bodies. That's where the tight ends come into the mix, but more of the outside zone stuff goes to the weak side of the formation. Of course, we have to look at guys like Kelvin Beachum, who I think is maybe their most inconsistent run blocker. Again, I think that's why they lean on the left side a little bit more, but you do keep an eye on that, because at the point of attack, on the play side of plays, how does he handle that? Is it force blown blocks? Now, of course, the cutback lanes, that integrity is going to be massive in this one. Of course, we're going to talk a lot about pass rush responsibility as well, but I don't think they have the cutback piece that we saw last week in Rachaad White. However, we know James Conner, after contact, he is excellent. He does not go down on first contact very often. He's got like super strong ankles. He plays with like tiptoes, but he's also in a really big man's body. He is tough to bring down as a runner as well. So first contact's going to be massive how well Lions actually tackle in this game. But in terms of for the Lions, outside defense ends, of course, the linebacker, the scraping, laterally scraping, that's going to be huge in this game, being able to get over gaps, get over top, and again, force things back inside. And then, of course, as always, the backside run defense, where occasionally it could be Kyler Murray putting a guy like Derek Barnes or one of our defensive ends into the mix. We know last time we played Arizona, it was a lot of Charles Harris. He was huge in that game, right? Getting flat to the line of scrimmage, having that discipline on the backside. That way, if Kyler pulls it, you're in a spot to make a play on the football. But also, because of so much of stretch and sweep plays, there are large cutback lanes, and those guys still have to be in the mix to step down and make a tackle if they do get into some of those cutback spots. So focus on the center position for really a lot of their run scheme. See how that's performing. I think the Lions have a good advantage there. I'm sure they're going to try to avoid that and still try to get wide in this game, because I think on paper their advantage is not downhill. That being said, though, I still think that's a key matchup regardless of what they're doing offensively in this one. You would see some of the inside zones. You see some of the dive plays. You get a little duo mixed in there as well on first down, second and long. So you get a little bit of that mixed in as well. And then beyond that, really the creativity came through. Occasionally you get some power run plays. Beachum a lot of times was used as kind of that seal down blocker. Then here would come Evan Brown. He would be a puller a lot of times. You get a little bit of Will Hernandez, who's a good blocker as well. A little bit of him as puller, but Evan Brown is the guy that like to move around seemingly a lot offensively. And then you get into some more creative looks where they'll false pull, and then here goes Kyler Murray the opposite way. Even some of the counter pull action as well. But again, majority of the offense, outside stuff. You'll get some outside zone mix in as well, especially towards the weak side. But stretch, sweep plays, that is going to be the key for the Lions in this game. And the positional groups for the Lions is going to be linebackers and defensive ends setting the edge, forcing some of those cutback lanes, which we did a good job of last week. Like we're really well positioned to handle that. This stuff is just going to be probably even wider than what Tampa Bay did against us with just some of their outside zones, but instead now we're getting out more towards the D gap in this game. The pass defense here, and again, statistically, Arizona's been really good. And matchup-wise, they have a lot of pieces offensively that they can go to. So they have a lot of success because they just have a lot of answers for what you do defensively. And it's not one of these games where you can just take one guy out of the game and you're good to go. Now, there's a couple of things the Lions will have to do well in this game. One being backside coverage discipline. Kyler Murray is not like Baker where he's going to get the ball out as fast as Baker every play, or what we saw with Stafford week 1. He is a guy that absolutely will hold on to the football. Now, that being said, you'll get occasions where he gets the ball out quickly, but he has no problem with holding on to the ball and a lot of broken plays. So many of their big plays through the first 2 weeks have been broken plays or extended plays just by him holding on to the football for a while, getting outside the pocket, creating an extension, and then boom, big play. And we know that all too well after last week against Baker. He didn't kill us on it, but some of their drives stuck alive just because of that alone. And Kyler Murray will absolutely lean into that. But backside coverage discipline is going to be massive because as the play rolls along, we can't have zone coverage pieces rolling out of their zone just because the play rolls along and the quarterback's looking one way, then all of a sudden on the backside someone is wide open. Kyler Murray is also very sensitive to feeling pressure from what I've gathered, whereas if you're getting pressure or maybe you're bringing extra rushers, maybe even that alone, he wants to find his check down very quickly, just something to kind of keep an eye on. You can have success if you can get in his face, you can disrupt passing lanes, make it so he really can't see. I mean, that is a thing, and he gets very sensitive. He feels it, he wants to get the ball out, he wants to move. So that is one thing to keep an eye on. Is I'm very curious how much pressure the Lions actually bring in this game. First priority is keeping him in the pocket, not letting him take off, run all over the place, whether you're blitzing or not blitzing. So that's going to be massive. Another big thing for me is over the middle of the field, making him work, making him be on time, and making him be accurate, especially with some of those second-level throws. I could see the Lions be willing to challenge the Arizona Cardinals in an area like that, like, hey, make the second-level throws. Put it over our linebackers. So like here, for example, Arizona's in a second and medium plus, and because of their tendency to run the ball, of course, they could set up play action shot plays just like this. LA on this play is going to roll into this cover 3 look defensively. We know they can match these coverages, but you could see just a beater here in terms of they get the flat defender to have to carry the corner route. Now the cornerback drops off and covers this pretty well, but it's a great ball and it's a big time playmaker, and Kyler trusted it to the sideline to just put it out there and let his guy go make a play. And that's what I think the Lions want to avoid, is them feeling comfortable to do things like this. Because there has been occasions, not a ton, where he's missed those passes already this season on play action, shot plays, those kind of things right over the middle of the field, where again, especially if you can get any kind of push into his face, you can make it a little bit disruptive for what he can actually see, and it could just be much more difficult. When he gets outside the pocket, he's incredibly dangerous. When he has a clear path to throw the football, he is a problem, and he's extremely accurate in those spots. So keeping him in the pocket, creating a wall in front of him, and potentially trying to challenge him over the middle could be the Lions' intention in a game like this. And typically the notion is against mobile quarterbacks, especially because the Lions don't play a spy, you expect to see majority zone coverage. I would say don't be surprised if you get more man coverage than expected. And usually when they do go man, especially on early downs, I would expect they're probably going to have a 5th rusher included to try to collapse the pocket. But I think the Lions will be willing to play man coverage in this game depending on how it holds up. That way they can get an extra rusher and just try to speed up the process and get the ball out of his hands. From what I've gathered over the first 2 weeks and even going back to last time we played him in 2021, too high coverage is much more efficient against Kyler Murray specifically, right? One, not allowing the big play. From what I've seen so far this season, a lot of the big plays for Arizona has come from single high coverage, a lot of cover 3 looks defensively, and a lot of broken and extended plays. Too high looks, especially on early downs, whether that be quarters coverage or cover 6, has really limited the offense from getting those big plays and forced a lot of checkdowns underneath. Now, he hasn't turned the ball over in terms of interceptions yet, so hopefully we can change that this week, potentially again by getting in his face. I think that's very possible, especially if you stop the run. We stop the run, force him in the pass situations. It's going to change up this offense completely. They want to throw the ball on first down. If they can't run it and get it back on second down in 3rd and long, that's not where this offense or any offense really wants to live. So we played Kyler, we did see a lot of rolling safeties. We still saw a lot of the cover 3, which Aaron Glenn likes to go to. So I think in this game, I expect on early downs, the Lions to start in a lot of 2 high safety looks, roll at the snap, bring safeties down at the snap, potentially try to cause some congestion over the middle of the field a little bit, but give you that 2 high safety look pre-snap. I want to see what that balance turns into. If it is a lot of single high safety, the matchup between, to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Carlton Davis is going to be the one to watch. That's going to be awesome. The emergence of Marvin Harrison is real. Last week, he was targeted a ton. That guy just gets opportunities every time he's one-on-one. Kyler has no fear to give him a chance, even if it's not completed, whether that be back shoulder fade routes, getting inside the 20. Let's throw an actual fade route. Let's throw a deep out route. They want to get him the football. And if he gets a one-on-one look, he's probably going that direction. So if the Lions play a lot of single high safety, you can expect that that's going to be the look. Just based on what I've seen, 2 high safeties, cover 6, cover 4, especially on early downs, is much safer. You're going to force a lot more checkdowns. You're going to force a lot more. You're going to limit a lot more of the big plays while rotating potentially here and there, trying to get a pressure. Because one thing for this offensive line is while they played pretty well, they do have some issues with picking up in pass protection, especially if you bring a linebacker, you drop out an edge rusher.
Now, especially if Beachum can't play in this game, it would be something to look for is to the Lions put the right tackle in the mix, not being aware to step down on the play. But even so, attacking Will Hernandez, you saw it against the Buffalo Bills a couple of times having success, getting upfield by crossing his face and the right tackle not stepping down. Maybe you give him assignment and they don't pick it up correctly.
They've had real issues in picking up second-level rushers, identifying that, just allowing complete free rushers.
Now, where you have to be careful and you have to pick and choose your spots the right way here is, as you can see, as the back picks up the linebacker pressure on the play and you drop out your edge, here Kyler Murray makes a really nice read. Edge doesn't get out to the number 2 receiver, so it's an easy pitch and catch for a deep curl first down.
Again, Kyler can escape some of these and just make things happen regardless of what you do up front. But as we saw last time we played Arizona, we were awesome at containing Kyler Murray. We were incredible in that area with our pass rush lanes, playing forward, bull rushing, not trying to win on the edge all the time.
And even though the Lions don't play spies, even if you did just plant a spy, it doesn't necessarily fix the issue if you leave open multiple gaps because 2 guys go outside, 1 doesn't go inside. You don't fill in like water to your gaps. It's still going to be crucial. Lions probably won't play spies because they never play spies, but that's okay. It's about still just being fluid in your pass rush lanes.
And then also just mixing up who is coming on each play, everybody filling in really well to their pass rush lanes and being incredibly aware of that. But then again, mixing it up, obvious pass downs, who's coming on the play, we don't know, dropping out of that, and then getting free rushers and spilling them into our help, potentially blitzing off of certain sides for Kyler Murray to try to spill him in a certain direction and try to corral him into a certain spot. Lions had a great plan for that. It's going to be massive in this game. And then, of course, even in red zone situations, again, Marvin Harrison Jr. becomes the one-on-one guy. You have to look for Michael Wilson because they'll utilize his body to kind of just spot up underneath, especially if you go zone once you get inside 20. We know Lions like to play quarters in that spot, so that'll be a spot to watch for him. And if they want to push the ball, especially in zone coverage, Michael Dortch becomes a massive option. Of course, they want to run the football, but if they're passing the football, those will be the spots. So a couple key things here. Number 1, it's of course containing as a front. I expect 5-man rushes early in this game. Not anything crazy, but an extra rusher early in this game. And then also, again, 2 deep coverage would make a ton of sense in this game. I think Aaron Glenn, knowing Aaron Glenn, he'll probably start in some of those looks and roll out of them at the snap, try to clog the middle. The best benefit of also playing 2 deep coverage is trying to funnel it in towards the middle of the field. When you see Kyler Murray, he is very comfortable with throwing everything to the sideline, taking his one-on-one chances. And I think for him, what the Lions may want to do in this game is say, we can't give you that easy of an out. We have to make you work. We have to make you throw the middle of the field. We have to make you throw in the traffic. We can't just give you the one-on-one on the sideline. So if the matchup's struggling there with Carlton and those kind of things, they definitely may get out of it. But also if they're rotating it early, like we're going to have 2 deep, we're going to kind of bracket in Marvin Harrison here. We're going to go, cover 2 on this side. We'll go quarters on the backside, kind of squeeze it inside. They may mix it early, but if not having success, I think that'll be a focus for the Lions is they don't want to let him live on the out routes, the deep out routes, the outside fades, the curls, the comebacks. They don't want to let him live there. They want to squeeze things back over the middle for him, I'm sure, in this game, just like they want to do with the quarterback as well. So I'm pretty optimistic about how our defense matches up. I think we'll do pretty well against the run game, though the run game has been excellent, and a lot of the challenge this week to me is going to go into that second and third level because of how often they get wide. I don't have any concern about Reeder and Aleem being dominant in the interior, and I love the idea of Marcus Davenport in this game being able to spill multiple run plays if he's in this game and they have to run towards him. I love the front matchup. It's going to be at the second level scraping, the backside discipline, and our defensive backs being willing to stick their nose in this game because so much is going to be funneled towards those guys.
Now, if Alex can't play, I expect to see a lot of Malcolm to allow Barnes to play on the line of scrimmage because he'll be impactful there. We may even see some James Houston get involved in this game as well. But if Alex can play, it'd be incredibly helpful for depth's sake and also just because this is the kind of game that he can thrive in, is scraping down the line of scrimmage. And also, notice Davenport, baby.
Now, onto the flip side of things for the Lions offensively, this is a run defense that was horrible last season that through 2 games has been excellent. Well, I want to say really good for Arizona. 3.5 yards per carry. That's That's 4th in football, 9th in yards per game allowed, and 16th in expected points added through run defense. Not the best run defense, but it's been pretty darn good. Again, some of that just situationally, where is the game at? Also, LA really couldn't run the football because their offensive line was a disaster in that game, so that has a lot to do with it as well. But when I look at this defense, starting off with the Lions rushing attack in this game, what to expect, I think that the Lions up front, we've seen from Arizona between Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, so Lopez at nose tackle, is they've gotten guys that have been a little bit up and down, but have really performed well as a unit here on this defensive front. And they've gotten a lot out of these guys. Now, with this 3-4 front, you're going to see Zaven Collins on the line of scrimmage. At off-ball linebacker, you'll get Mac Wilson. You'll get Kaiser White. They got linebackers that are pretty flexible, that can really fly around laterally. You don't always get them incredibly well at the point of attack. I don't think when blockers get up to the second level, but they can fly around. In this 3-4 front, I think they've gotten these guys to perform well. Worry about Nichols because he can absolutely get upfield. He has a lot of good athleticism to make guys miss, and same thing with Justin Jones at defensive end as well. And Lopez has brought a lot to the table as a pure pass rusher from nose tackle. Then you got a guy that we're familiar with in Tonga who backs him up. You also got LJ Collier out there as well at backup defensive end. So they have some real athletes that can get upfield, force blown blocks, and force negatives. This is a game where I look on paper and I see those numbers and I still say I think the Lions can have a lot of success rushing the football in this game. I think they can create movement on the interior here. I love the interior matchup against Lopez to get and start to rotating their depth. They do rotate their defensive front. So this is one of those matchups where if you can put together an 8, 9, 10 play drive plus, you're going to get rotations and potentially get matchups you really like on the offensive line running the football. So it'll be important to sustain drives to force them to start to rotate pieces in and out. Nichols and Jones, specifically Jones, he has a really good ability to get upfield, but those guys can be moved for sure at the point of attack. And I love the Lions' ability to double team, create outside zones, and create movement and get upfield through those outside zone run plays in this game. I also think it's an opportunity to potentially get some hard double teams, get some inside zones, and just push and get upfield. You don't have a Vita Vea on the opposite side. I think the Lions could go to some of that, especially because, again, with these linebackers, as fast as they play, as long as our running backs are making the right reads, I don't think they're great at dealing with offensive linemen at the second level constantly. The matchup to me won't actually be their D-line against their offensive line unless they create some negatives there, but it'll be the edge defenders. It'll be the Zaven Collins specifically, and seeing how we match up. It's been about Sam LaPorta. It's been about these receivers stepping in and blocking, but I do like the Lions matchup on paper. It'll be about Gardeck, Zaven Collins, two big linebackers that have performed incredibly well, especially against the run. They play with their hair on fire. The Lions tight ends matching up with those guys. If those guys are derailing the game, it might have to turn into let's just get downhill against this team and take our chances there, and let's move these guys back. Inside zones, dive plays, duo run plays. However, I think outside zone on paper makes a lot of sense against this team just because I do think that they can move this front, they can wear them down, they can force rotations. Aspect of that too is I can expect the Lions to utilize a lot of early counter run plays. I think that's going to be a big portion of this early in this game. Again, create down blocks, move these guys at the point of attack, try to pull offensive linemen, and I think counter pull is going to be big. It was big last time we played Arizona as well. The Lions will utilize that early in this game. I think especially with their linebackers, those guys tend to play very aggressively. From what I've seen, they can really be pulled by quarterbacks' eyes. I think the same thing in the run game. We may see a lot of early counter kind of run plays, trusting our ability to down block, especially towards Penei Sewell, to just move his defensive end out of the play and go behind that piece with Graham Glasgow pulling around. I think Zeitler could struggle a little bit at times with some of the zone blocking to laterally be able to get out there with Lopez on the backside and trying to catch up to the front side against a Nichols or against a Justin Jones or a Nichols and trying to reach block. He could have some struggles right there. He may have to be a little bit more downhill. That could lead the Lions to a little more gap, pulling offensive linemen. Let's get behind Penei Sewell. Let's let him drive guys off the point of attack. We like our matchup at the point of attack, and let's get downhill against these guys. I think the Lions can be versatile in this one, but I think early in the game, that's what we're going to see is a lot of the pulling offensive line, but a lot of the gap scheme from the Lions in this game to get downhill against this team rushing the football. I just think you have to attack that nose tackle position specifically in this game. Now, passing defense, as you're going to see by the statistics, they're not a heavy blitzing team, and their defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, really doesn't come from a place where he's been incredibly aggressive in terms of blitzing. They have had a pretty nice pressure rate to this point in the season. I actually think that the guy to look out for the most is Lopez, their nose tackle. He's shown a lot of flashes in the interior, and the Lions were a little bit hit and miss last week in handling some of the interior pressure. So I think that's going to be a matchup to watch. And of course, guys like Justin Jones, Nichols, those guys can absolutely get an edge. I've seen those guys like take over, but they can definitely get an edge. And they're going to utilize some of that linebacker and edge rusher dropping just because they had the flexibility with Zaven Collins to easily drop into coverage, and Gardeck they trust into coverage. So they'll bring some linebackers. They'll force your running backs to step in and pass protect like a lot of teams now do out of that 3-4 front. That's going to be a huge advantage. They're going to try to take advantage of it. Again, it's going to test the interior in this game. game. Good thing is we've been tested there. Pass rushing piece for me, though, the other top guy is Zaven Collins. I haven't seen a lot of very early wins from Collins, but I think as the rep rolls along, you see Zaven Collins' athleticism to just track a quarterback down and find success later in the play. I don't think this is an incredible pass rushing front, especially for picking up soundly with some of these linebacker rushes. I think they have really solid pieces, really solid contributors that can get an edge and create pressure, but I don't think they have an elite front across the board. This is a game where the Lions can do a really good job pass protecting, especially if that run game finds the kind of success that I think it's capable of finding in this game. So what to expect from this defense? You're going to get some match looks in coverage defensively. You're going to get guys carrying people in coverage. And again, you're going to get different pieces where linebackers will blitz, edge rushers will drop out. Mainly, you're going to see a lot of cover 3 in this game. I think that's the coverage that I had noted most, was a lot of variety of cover 3 from them defensively. That's kind of the base coverage that you're going to see from this defense. Then on second and long plays, they're very willing to get into 2 deep looks, keep things in front of them. A lot of quarter looks when they get into second and long spots. You also may see this in the red zone a little bit as well, or third and long. This is with some of their cover 1 looks, but they're very willing to kind of sit back and let things happen underneath if they can get you into third down positions. But early downs, their cover 3 looks are going to be the key. You're going to potentially get a lot of matchups in this game against cornerbacks that you like. We'll have to see how much they try to protect that in this game. Sean Murphy-Bunting is a guy that I would go at over and over if they're playing single high safety and they're leaving that one-on-one. Deep out routes, curl routes, I would go at that guy a ton in this game. Starling Thomas also gets a lot of looks for them as well at wide corner. When those guys are in off coverage, those are 2 guys that I would go at in coverage a ton in this game. Even in cover 4, boundary, they'll press. So again, I like our matchups one-on-one on the outside. You can put St. Brown out there occasionally as well. I like that matchup on paper, but with so much of these cover 3 looks, they could very similarly try to funnel things back inside, play really hard flats in this game, and we may get similar looks in terms of a lot of the back inside breaking whip routes set up for the Lions underneath. I think we're going to see a lot of stacks and bunches in this game, a lot of stacks with the tight end and St. Brown to try to create underneath windows that we can have efficiency passing the football this week, a lot of quick passes getting the ball to Goff hands. I think we'll see a lot of stacks and bunches in this game for the Lions passing the football. Utilization of fast motion in this game, not for man coverage, but to again create spacing, whether it's Jameson Williams or now Khalif Raymond, who was also big last time we played Arizona, utilizing that fast motion to again create leverage, speed outs out of it. Speed outs are going to be a big usage as well in this game. So I think we're going to see a lot of getting the ball out quickly, especially if they come out, sit in a lot of that early cover 3 look defensively, a lot of the off coverage cornerback looks. And once they get into some of those hard flat looks, I expect stacks, bunches.
I think the Lions can really look into using their size outside and out near the numbers. Meanwhile, some of these quick play action sets right behind the linebackers that, again, can step down aggressively and play action sets. I think you can get behind these guys. But that's where the stacks come into play with the dig route with Sam LaPorta right in front of these cornerbacks that are sitting in that off coverage with an underneath route underneath to pull it down, or he can go to the check down. I think those 1-2 route combos will be very effective against this Arizona scheme.
And then on some of their play action sets as well, I expect the Lions to utilize some delayed routes. This is a linebacker room that will take off. I think you can utilize your eyes really well and create a lot of spacing underneath in this game as long as we have pass protection. So I think we're going to see a lot of things underneath. Level 1, level 2 routes for Goff in this game, whether that's kind of a combo setup, an out and a dig right behind it with Sam LaPorta right in front of the cornerbacks. I think we'll see a lot of that for Goff early in this game is short drops, getting the ball out quickly, maybe even some straight drops from under center to get the ball out quickly. We're going to see some delayed usage, especially on play action like we saw last week against Tampa Bay to start the second half. The big shot play to St. Brown where we kind of delayed Jameson on the double move before taking up off field to get St. Brown back open underneath. I think this week we may see that a little bit as well. Not the same, but some delayed things underneath. Chip flats, chip delays, maybe some boot action rollouts into the flat. Little delays underneath to try to push these linebackers downfield and again, stay on top of the chains early in this one. I think delayed routes are huge because of the depth that they will play with and again, their linebacker spacing that they will allow. Third downs in those situations, they're going to sit in quarters. They'll keep things in front. You'll get some creativity, and sometimes they'll play quarters and they'll blitz. They'll bring an extra underneath defender, or you may even get some mix of quarters and cover 1. A big part of this defense to me is their defensive back flexibility, and a lot of that just comes back to Budda Baker. He is one of the key players to watch in this game. Just throwing that out there. This guy's incredible. Against the run, he makes me think of Jordan Whitehead and what he was for us last week, the headache that he was. He's like that. He flies around, makes great tackles. That's the guy to circle in this back end. He's also very versatile. When they go quarters looks, if they play a third safety, he'll play as an underneath defender. If they play Tampa 2, he'll play as that middle field player in those coverages as the third safety. They really lean into their safety depth with guys like Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker just aligning in a ton of different spots. Now, I do think you have guys like Thompson that are pretty aggressive at the safety position, and Budda Baker will be as well. It opens up opportunities for early double moves out of these play action sets, especially if you create some early delays and you do take these underneath passes early to kind of pull these safeties up. Their aggressiveness this, especially if you can lean into the run. You're going to have a chance to get a double move eventually in this game against these safeties. I almost guarantee it, even out of one of their 2 deep looks, because they're aggressive. This is the cornerback play, but more from the safety, so it could be a middle field shot. Budda Baker, to me, is clearly the player to circle defensively, mainly against the run, spots that we have to line at. But again, it's not a heavy blitzing team. A lot of times their 4th rusher will just be who's coming on the play. Linebacker, edge drops out. It'll be a lot of that, but they're not like incredibly heavily in blitzing. You will get a nice little mix of it, but it's nothing crazy. They're not going to blitz like half the time like we've seen with some other defense. At least I don't expect that in this game. I don't think that would make any sense for their defensive scheme. They want to keep things in front. They're not going to blitz a ton. I don't expect that. And I think the Lions are going to be able to lean into the efficiency. If they can lean into that ground game, they'll end up getting a deep shot over the middle of the field eventually to kind of break this game open. I think that could be the one big difference play that the Lions could have eventually in this game.
That being said, any defense that utilizes edge rushers to drop or bring a linebacker, drop the edge, bring the edge, drop the linebacker into coverage, that can sometimes be hit and miss at getting the proper depth immediately on the play. That's where I think you have to have those routes for the quick right behind the linebackers, right in front of the cornerback routes, the quick play action plays, those kind of things, just to try to take advantage of the creativity and the havoc they want to cause up front. You have to throw it right back at them with some of the over the middle of the field, quick 1, 2, 3, bam, get the ball out.
I think for the Lions in this one, they should be able to run the football. I believe they'll be able to run the football, and I think this is one of those games where I wanted to go a little bit higher in terms of scoring, but I do respect this Arizona defense a lot after watching it, man. They don't have a lot of big names, but they do get their job done. They have some young guys. Max Melton that'll mix in. He's a guy that you could definitely look to attack in some of those red zone situations. I expect in red zone spots Sam LaPorta to be effective. I think Sam LaPorta comes down with a touchdown in this game. I think Tim Patrick will be really valuable out wide, deep out routes, deep comeback routes, quarters looks, cover 3. I think he gets in the end zone once in this game, and again, I think the Lions will be able to run the ball, so I think we'll at least get one in there. But I think this is one of those games where I got respect for their defense, where I don't think we're going to just walk all over them. It's just going to really come back to the run defense. If you look at the stats, they're actually really good there. It's going to come back to what does that look like. So I got respect. I think this defense is legit, and they have a really good defensive mind handling it that gives you a lot of weird licks, a lot of weird match looks. He's got a lot of flexibility in the defensive backs and linebackers that you don't know who's in coverage, what coverage are they in, who's blitzing. They create a lot of confusion, so the run game will help minimize some things. We even saw the Rams last week when they were forced to pass. At times, they looked lost. Stafford looked lost, didn't know where to go with the football. They have a lot of that versatility, so we really want to limit that. Again, like Tampa Bay, we can see early down passing, but especially if we can lean into the run, that will be something I'm sure the Lions will want to do in this game. So I got too much respect to say the Lions will let up the scoreboard, so I'm pushing it down a little bit in this one. I think the Lions put up 24. I think those 3 guys can get at the end, so I think we can run one in. I think Patrick can get one, and I think Sam LaPorta is going to be a big red zone piece. I don't think they have a great matchup for that necessarily, and again, because you got quarters in cover 3, you can create beaters. We saw it with Josh Reynolds last time we played this team, right in between the safety. I don't think they have a great matchup. Jalen Thompson's a pretty good coverage piece on tight ends, but I just like our matchup there better, and I think we'll have that opportunity in this game. So I think we have some size matchup advantages as well, and I think that we'll put up about 24 points. I don't think we'll light up the scoreboard necessarily. I think we could. I was teetering on putting us at 30, but I think this will be one of those games where Lions are cool with really owning time of possession, being very efficient offensively, taking care of the football, and winning a sound game. I think this one turns out 24-17. The Lions win with the ball in their hands. Makes me think back, I don't know what year it was, the year we beat the Jets. For whatever reason, it pops in my mind. We beat them 24-17. I remember Stafford taking off, and he slid down the end of the game with the ball in our hands. And it was just like a secure win. I think this game may end something just like that. 24-17 in this one. Lions own time of possession. They get into the end zone in the red zone. Finally, they put a couple touchdowns up, a couple of passing touchdowns as well, and they take care of the football and win this game by 7 comfortably, but not in blowout fashion on the road, because Arizona has too many weapons. They can definitely put up points. I feel like I'm a little bit low on Arizona and potentially a little bit low on the Lions here, but I think this one could surprise me a little bit lower scoring just because of time of possession. So I'm going 24-17 Lions in this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Pride, for watching, and I'm out.